In the beginning was the essential God, the progenitor, dwelling in perfect darkness. In that perfect darkness, God still and always resides. By its nature, God radiates infinite, pure light, and within this pure light all that we experience begins. Yet behind the light, within it and beyond its ability to illuminate, resides the true Father, the monad progenitor, from which all things begin. I refer to this being as God, because it's easier. And I call him, because it's convenient for me, but his nature is beyond gender, and beyond the ability of words to express. He exists before thought, before even the idea of ideas can exist, and within that state of being there are no words, not yet anyway. This is like when you've got the feeling of a thing that you want, but you haven't explored it enough to be able to express it yet, because you haven't put it into words. All the words about this state are approximate at best, though. The ones I choose are the best I can come up with. Yours will be more appropriate for you, but these work for me. In the divine Pymander, greater than Hermes Trismegistus is given a vision of the creation of the material realm. Within the infinite light appeared a great darkness, smoking as if it were on fire. Out of the infinite light leapt a certain holy word, and that word joined itself to the dark mass of matter that came into being. When this holy word entered the darkness, the matter itself separated into 4 realms. Fire leapt up highest to be closest to the infinite light, followed by air, which seemed to hang between the fire and earth water below. Next, God created a workman and 7 governors, each with their own sphere, surrounding the realm of matter. Then the holy word, Logos, leapt up and something happened between the two. The Logos cohabited and consubstantiated or possessed the workman. They became one entity, yet retained their dual nature. This entity then set the spheres in motion, and the spirit of nature within the world began creating a material copy of the spiritual heavens within the material world. Meanwhile, God made man in its image. Man was the last entity created, after the material world and its self-awareness, that became the spiritus mundi, after the Logos and workman, after the 7 governors of the planetary spheres, after all the entities that you run into in the 8th sphere and beyond. He was the youngest and most beloved brother of the family. I don't know if you have brothers and sisters, or if they are older than you or not. It's not really that the youngest is loved more, it's that the parents are over all the new kid crap and have concentrated their efforts where they are most needed. The eldest sees the youngest getting away with murder, in comparison to them, and hate it. Likewise, by the time the youngest arrives, the parents are usually in better financial conditions and can afford more stuff that the eldest didn't get, so the youngest looks spoiled. If you went to Sunday school as a kid, you may remember the story of Joseph and the coat of many colors. It's like that. His brothers sold him into slavery to some Egyptians. Fortunately for proto-human created in God's image, it wasn't anything like that. He got treated better, sure, but that was because he was made in God's image. No one else was. They took one look at us, and fell in love, because we reminded them so much of our mutual dad. First man went off exploring first thing. He descended through the 7 planetary spheres and received a portion of the powers of each sphere, along with training in how to use those forces to create. The 7 governors of the celestial spheres loved him, and he loved them. He thought they kicked ass, and he was fascinated with the process of creation. After all, he was an extension and duplicate of the Creator God, the First Father. He descended through each of the planetary spheres until he arrived at the edge. When man came to the material realm, he wanted to see what lay hidden beneath the sphere of fire, separated from the celestial realms and removed from the spiritual realms in a way that was unlike any of the other heavens. Parting the upper veil, man peered into the world below, seeing through the clear elemental sphere of air into the sphere of water. There, reflected in its surface, he beheld his own image. Remember, he was made in the image of the first Father, whom he loved deeply. Seeing the form of his source reflected in his own image, he was I am. Immediately smitten with it, not because he loved himself, but because the first Father is so lovely in form and function. The spirit of nature, meanwhile, was also observing this intrusion into her sphere. She saw man, and saw in his image the first Father as well. She saw man fall in love with his reflection, and understood. She made of the elements a form of the reflection in the waters, a statue as it were, and man, seeing this, immediately entered into the material reflection and became one with it, even as the Logos had consubstantiated into the form of the workman. So it is that man has both an eternal nature and a temporal nature, the immortal spirit and the mortal flesh. We are, in a way, a symbiotic entity. Many traditions separate the flesh and spirit and create an animosity between the two. In Hermetics, we see that the flesh is not the enemy at all, but a material harmonic of ourselves. It is an animal, like every other animal in the material world, but we, the eternal spirits, ride around inside it. I try to take care of my body, as it serves me well. And after all, they didn't ask for me to come along and cohabitate. Within each of us, we retain that immortal spark of the divine. This entity is the same entity that hung out with God, the Logos, the workman. The seven governors, all the hierarchies of elemental and terrestrial spirits, and who first fell in love with the form created by the spirit of nature. This spark within is what gives us authority over the elements and the seven governors. They love us and work with us because we are the image of God. We're co-workers though, not masters of legions of spiritual slaves. In the Hermetic Creation Myth, we see that the embodiment of the spirits of humanity was not a fall, nor was it beyond our control. Hermeticists see the material realm as a place of beauty, a physical image of our spiritual home world. It was not created as a prison, or as an accident, or as a punishment. It was created in loving care, crafted as a material tribute of the heavens it reflects. It was created as a labor of love, and populated with the natural and material spirits the same way the heavenly realms were populated with the celestial deities and intelligences. In the Christian creation myth, we see God creating the world in the form of man, and then breathing life into man. Man had no choice, had no prior existence. Man in the Bible is presented entirely as a creation, like a pot created by a potter. But in the Hermetic Creation Myth, we see that man was created above, complete and whole in the image of the original Creator God. Before informing itself in the flesh, it received a portion of each of the planetary spheres, and the power to use these forces in creation. Understand the difference. We are not unwilling creations, we are here on purpose. We are not powerless servants of fate, we are the creators and shapers of destiny. It is through our choices that fate is made manifest. We are willing, intentional incarnations, free to create and enjoy and experience our worlds as we see fit. Or, not,